last night. We got Paul George making some moves. Maxey just signed. We had all that sweet, sweet, good stuff. And then just a heads up too, I want to make sure we're live over on YouTube. We are. Appreciate everybody playback and everybody that tuned in yesterday for the stream that we did. We had a Dustin sighting. This week, this is what you can expect. We will have the NBA bit today and tomorrow. We'll do it Monday, Tuesday. Then we're going to do it Thursday. And then I think Friday is going to be more of a happy hour-esque type thing. We'll have some content going on in some of the other YouTube channels as well. But excited to be joined by Weisberg. Weisberg, can you hear now?
Yeah. Sorry. I was you know this on the background because I was editing our notes as we went live. So my bad, guys. How are we doing this morning?
It was good. It was a good time. Thanks for getting up early and hanging out.
Yeah.
So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go over basically everything that happened yesterday, everything that happened last night. We'll do some winners and some losers, some big picture stuff. We'll have some fun with it. But we got to start with Philly because this is what Philly did while 2 moves while people were sleeping. They did 4 moves total yesterday. They get Andre Drummond for a little backup big action. RIP Paul Reed. So Andre Drummond makes his way to Philly. The Sixers then signed Paul George at like 4 a.m. Eastern time for 5 years, $212 million. Right after that, we get some Kelly. I should not be riding bicycles. Oubre with a 2-year, $16 million, which honestly, he was on the vet minimum last year. Now they get him for $8 million a year. I think that's like a pretty fair deal. And then just now, Tyrese Maxey signed his big old max of 5 years, $204 million. So let's do it from Philly first. What were your thoughts? I mean, it was kind of a foregone conclusion as we hit yesterday that Paul George is probably going to the Sixers. But where did you land on all that stuff yesterday?
Well, with Philly, it was interesting because it kind of slowly happened throughout the day that the Paul George to Philly thing was going to officially happen.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like there was a little bit of will he or won't he leave LA. You know,
right?
Like Paul's an LA kid. He's from Palmdale. And the idea that he would leave LA, I think, was something that the Clippers were somewhat banking on. And then by middle of the afternoon, West Coast time, evening, East Coast time, it became apparent, according to leaked reports to Woj, that basically his agents basically went to the Clippers. They're like, no, he's not staying. He's going to leave. And Philly has gotten dramatically better. Paul gives them a bona fide third star, the best third guy that they've had, arguably, to pair with Maxey where he is now, getting that monster extension, and Embiid. Drummond gives them the best backup center they've ever had. Although what's funny is that Drummond was on the team 2 years ago, and they simply let him go.
Right.
Banking on Paul Reed's development. And, Oubre gives them a little more wing depth. That said, they did sign Eric Gordon as well.
That's right. I forgot about the Gordon. That's right.
A little over the hill. I think Eric's, not much younger than we are. So, I'm a little worried about where they are health-wise. This is an incredible day for Philly.
Yeah.
Let's give them their flowers. Daryl Morey did the thing. This could have gone really, really bad for Daryl Morey. It did not.
Well,
so
and
give his flowers.
Right. I mean, and it looked like heading into late June that Paul was going to stay in LA, and that you were looking at the landscape and it's like, all right, I guess we're paying DeRozan, right? And that's kind of where they were. And yeah, I agree. Before we pick any of it apart or poke holes in it, I mean, you also look at the East, and similarly to what the Knicks did, right? Yeah, sure, maybe this doesn't make you the best team in the league, but if things fall right for you in the same manner that it kind of fell right for the Celtics, you are right there. You know what I mean? You're taking your swing at it right now. What's the alternative? That you don't pay anybody? And they had to make some moves here, and I think for Paul George to fall to them, it's pretty sharp. They still have to make a couple of moves around the edges, right? They still don't have a lot of people on their team. I know Kyle Lowry is still kind of linked to them, and they still have some more moves to make. But I was kind of pumped for Philly fans because it looked a little dicey there for a little bit. And now you have like the young guy Maxey, who like if he continues to evolve, right? We saw him go from like a pretty good role player to an all-star in 1 year. If he continues to make leaps, you have Embiid, if he can stay on the court, is an MVP. And now Paul George as the third banana doesn't really have to have that same amount of pressure on that he typically would. So I like it for Philly quite a bit.
Well, and George gives you a bona fide defensive guy who can guard Tatum and Brown. And Oubre can do that to an extent as well, though he's more of an offensive player. To me, I think their overall team works, particularly with Nick Nurse. Like, because Nurse is going to maximize that roster. I think that's a big difference from this team than say some of the Philly teams over the last couple of years.
Sure.
My only real concern is just going to be how they build out this roster to deal with, an 82-game regular season. Like, I think this matches up well with New York and Boston. I think it's probably a shade below. But it's as big of a headline as we're going to be getting out of NBA free agency over the first 24 hours.
Yeah, I mean, probably the whole run. Like, I don't see another move being made that will splash as big as this. Like, this will be the cannonball of free agency, and then I'm sure we'll get some pencil dives from the Lakers that we'll all overreact to. But
one quick note, sorry, Mike, as we're kind of talking stir, they also have Jared McCain, who they drafted in the first round.
Yep.
And I think he's actually going to be a pretty impactful player for them.
Just more shooting.
More shooting, and I actually saw it on Twitter over the last couple of days. How do you think someone like Jimmy Butler would have reacted to Jared McCain? Some people really like Jared McCain. Some people were like, "Ooh,
listen. If Jimmy has a problem with it, this is the same Jimmy Butler that was in a Fall Out Boy music video. So shut the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not. Sure, it could go one of two ways, but I'd be like, hey, man, dude, sick Michelob Ultra commercials. Like, just relax, So, I'm not – I wouldn't worry about it too much. But, I really do like it. I like it for Philly. And I know Paul George has his warts and everything, and you can point to, the playoff track record and how many games the Clippers actually won over there. But this is a home run. I mean, again, you have to spend money. And it kind of goes back to the Harden trade, right? So, that James Harden trade, they basically, hey, we'll take on some big, ugly contracts here to free up the space so that we can make the move that we're going to make. So they bet on two things. They bet on being able to attract a big-time free agent when free agency hits, and they bet on Maxey taking a leap, and both things crushed. And so, I don't know. I'm excited to see them actually play out. But I also want, like you said too, I want to know how they're going to fill out the rest of their roster. But like a good start. I mean, I think it's a good start. I think one other thing too about it, I was trying to think of like the top 4-ish of the East versus the top 4-ish of the West. I feel like I know we like to make fun of the East, and it's probably because teams like the Bulls make the playoffs every year or the Hawks make the playoffs. But I think the top tier of both the East and the West has to be like a little bit closer now, right?
Well, I think one of the winners of NBA free agency is Adam Silver. There is a level of parity that we're coming into here in the East where the top 4 teams in the East are going to be really good.
Yeah.
Boston, New York, Philly, and Orlando. Orlando getting Kentavious Caldwell-Pope on a 3-year deal at $22 million per is really, really good business. And KCP, we're going to get to the losers in a little bit because I have real thoughts on Denver.
Yeah.
But to me, Orlando got the kind of championship level vet that's going to give them a real shot in the arm.
Yeah.
Because he can defend at a high level, shoots 40% from 3. And just a quick note on the defense. He was the best defender on volume perimeter defense. Teams shot 40% when being guarded by Kentavious Caldwell-Pope on an individual basis. On closely defended or slightly open threes.
Yeah.
So, he's an incredible player. He's a little bit older. Orlando still has some work to do to add around this roster, but they're in a really, really good place. When you add in Paulo Franz, there's some questions about what's going to happen with Wendell Carter Jr. Are they going to maybe trade for Brandon Ingram? But they're in a good place for sure.
The KCP signing is great because like they so desperately needed shooting, like you said, but it doesn't. It's not like they're sacrificing on the defensive end, like you were just outlining. Because I was thinking about how Klay might have been a fun fit there too, because they absolutely need a flamethrower. And like KCP is not the shooter that Klay Thompson is, even though we like to say that Klay is washed, is not the same shooter. But you're not really you're not losing that defensive tenacity that the Magic. If anything, you're kind of improving it a little bit more, which is crazy to say considering they're playing like early 90s style basketball. So yeah, I love the KCP move. And I guess we could touch upon Denver with it a little bit because I was seeing reports that Denver actually offered a pretty similar deal to KCP, to KCP as the Magic did, and that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope chose to the free agency route. And I wonder, like, I was trying to think of like why that would be, and maybe he just thought that this should have been taken care of before it got to free agency. And that's what I'm kind of surprised to see him move. If those reports, I think it was Tony Jones that reported that.
I saw Tony Jones saying he actually has me blocked on Twitter, so he can fuck off. Yeah, I don't believe that.
Yeah,
that like I was watching some Denver people last night to try to get the Denver point of view on it. I just don't believe that report. Like Calvin Booth doesn't make the kind of statements that he made over the weekend, basically describing KCP as like a 5th, 6th man. And then at the same time, you offered him the same amount of money.
Yeah.
How does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like that Booth's comments felt like spin coming out the gate.
Yeah.
So
that's got to be right.
I don't really think that reporting holds much water to me. Maybe
that would make more sense. That would make more sense because I don't know. Like the Orlando's a fun team right now, but if it was the same amount of money to stay where you are, with Nikola Jokic, the best player in the world, you would stay. So I tend to agree with you on that.
And it's not like the opportunity is similar but different. And I also think this is something we're going to talk about quite a bit this morning. But the way that organizations have kind of handled this free agency, teams are a little unsure how to deal with the new CBA. And I think there's been a trying to figure out where the market is. And, if you're a team like Denver or Golden State, there's been this element of like, well, let's try to hit for some home runs and then maybe we'll wait and see on our own guys because they're our guys and we love them and we think that we can re-sign them. But the reality is many of those players, whether it's Klay Thompson, whether it's KCP, both those guys have looked at their team's offers and they're like, no, you've been disrespectful.
Yeah.
And you haven't been understanding kind of our position, so we're leaving. More so, I think, in Denver's case than Klay and Golden State. Klay's situation is a little bit different in that, they could have gotten this extension done pretty much any time in the last year and a half, really.
Yeah.
And the Warriors straight up, I was cackling all day yesterday. You saw me on Twitter. Yeah, I thought that was great. Nothing better than seeing Warrior fans get mad because Mike Dunleavy's not up for the job.
I wouldn't even say that Mike Dunleavy's not up to the job. Like this was like a 5 years coming, man. There was no, and I was trying to say this for a while. There was no move they could make that was going to make them good. That's it. Like, and we were talking about parity in the league, and it's parity, but in the sense of like the top tier, like, wow, there are 8 really good basketball teams in the NBA right now. The Warriors are not one of them. The Warriors aren't even a top 8 team in the West right now. Even if they brought back, even if they brought back Klay. So I don't really understand it. And I know like there was some, I go back and forth because Klay was offered a 2-year, $48 million extension, I believe it was, right? And he turned that down, and he's going to get less than that. Like he's going, no matter where he goes, whether it's with Golden State or another team, like he's not getting more than $48 million or 24 a year. That's not happening. And so some people are like, oh, why didn't you just take it? I mean, but I also understand the disrespect. Like you paid fucking Jordan Poole, you paid Draymond Green, you paid everyone else around you. You didn't pay me. I'm going to go get mine somewhere else. And even if it's less, but I just don't. I don't know. Maybe I've just never been a fan of a team. Oh, well, that's not true. I was a fan of the Patriots. I never got big mad when Brady left. I was just like, man, that was so cool that I got to love this team for a decade or decade plus while we just continued to win. I'm surprised Warriors fans are losing their mind as much as they are.
Well, so I'll say in the Bay Area, there's a lot of talk about the Paul George stuff, and that deal on some level, I don't know how close it got. Tim Kawakami from The Athletic reported that there were discussions that included some level of Wiggins,
CP3,
Kuminga, CP3, whether all of them were included in a deal, whether it was some package, were their first round picks. It felt a little bit like pre-spin.
Well, and Mike,
once Paul George was not coming here.
I think this was on Friday when we talked about this, and I said this is not happening because the Clippers aren't. And this is if that report is true, the Clippers basically were like, "No, we're not doing it," because the Clippers in their mind still have to be good at basketball this year, and they are not going to take on and I know they're like, "Well, instead, you got nothing back." I think they're fine with that. I think they're not going to turn around and make the Warriors better. So I'm not surprised that they said no to that at all. I am kind of surprised by the Levine deal, or that almost deal that we can talk about in a little bit. But yeah, I wanted to go back to the Clippers though for a second as we wrap up the put a button on the Paul George stuff. The Clippers, just for people that forget, right? Because we know SGA, Jalen Williams, all of those picks that they got in that Paul George deal. So the Clippers now, they signed Derrick Jones Jr. They bring back Harden. Russ opts in for a $4 million deal, but they've already said that Russ is getting traded, and they lose Paul George. They lose Plum Dog Millionaire, who went to the Suns on a one-year deal. The Oklahoma City Thunder this upcoming year has a pick swap with the Clippers. So whatever pick is better, the Thunder are going to get between the Thunder and the Clippers. And then in 2026, an unprotected first-round pick that the Thunder have of the Clippers. And if you're Sam Presti, oh my God, because your team is already in position to they're going to be the best team in the West next year, in my opinion, again, in the regular season. And with Denver taking a step back, I mean, they must be just just licking their chops here. And now they've got these two monster assets. Because would you be surprised if Kawhi played 44 games this year and the Clippers, even if the Clippers had full strength, what are they, a 6 seed, 7 seed?
Yeah. I mean, the Clippers moving into this new stadium, I kind of on its own, and we talked about this a little bit last week. I understand the math of losing Paul George for nothing. Under the CBA, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
You want to try to stay under the repeater tax because they're already there. You don't want to be limited by everything that happens in the second apron in terms of your ability to maneuver. I think that's the bigger thing for them. That said, man, they're just not going to be very good. And it's really dependent on two guys who haven't shown themselves to be dependable in any real way over the better part of the last half decade. You're trusting your franchise in Kawhi Leonard, who hasn't proven to stay healthy throughout an entire season, and James Harden, who, while a productive regular season player, has never proven to be a playoff winner. And the rest of that roster is kind of young, relatively speaking, or unproven. I don't fully understand the thought process if you're trying to compete for titles in the way that I know that Steve Ballmer wants to.
I'm trying to think I'm looking at the rest of the free agency landscape and is there a move they could make that could save face a little bit? And DeRozan, I guess, is really the only piece that they could make a move here. But there's one other move. And actually, before I yell about this, I know we got people over on YouTube too. Shout out the YouTube stream. I see our guy Big Tickets over there. We got Neil Diamond Hands, a bunch of other people too. I pinned a link into the chat if you guys want to come on over to playback. I'm looking at that chat a little bit more actively in real time. But the other move the Clippers made yesterday is they signed fucking Kevin Porter Jr. And the craziest thing to me about the KPJ deal, now, for those that forget, Kevin Porter Jr. was let go from the Rockets because he beat the shit out of the person that he was dating, who also lost their WNBA job this week. So in the same week that person was waived, Kears, I can't pronounce their last name, was waived, Kevin Porter Jr. is signed by the Clippers.
Hi, guys, Rick.
Yeah, okay. And not only that, It's a 2-year deal. He's got a player option. In what world does Kevin Porter Jr. have leverage that it should be a player option? I don't get I don't understand that move at all. I don't know. Like, you look at
don't forget they have Josh Primo too.
They got Primo as well. Yeah. Serial flasher, Josh Primo. I just don't know, allegedly or confirmed. I don't know. I don't know. Like, when you look around the NBA landscape, was there a need for Kevin Porter Jr.? What the fuck?
I think that's one of the bigger surprises.
Yeah.
Like, now, the thing that, in terms of the reporting on that deal, is there were multiple teams that apparently went after Kevin Porter Jr. So, and that's part of the reason why there was a player option on the second year of the deal. So it wasn't like the Clippers were in the Clippers' defense here, and this is a very lame defense. Let me be clear.
Careful.
They would come back to you and say, look, there was competition to sign this player. That said, shouldn't be in the league. Same way that I don't believe Miles Bridges should be in the league.
There was literally no buzz around Kevin Porter Jr. heading into this.
I know.
None. So I don't know who there was competition for. Anyways, I hate it. All right, enough about that. I think the Clippers are in trouble. OKC's in great shape. Good move for the Sixers. Let's do. We talked a little bit about Klay leaving the Warriors. We haven't really talked about the Klay landing spot. I'm sure their team was kind of waiting for the Paul George stuff to iron out. There's rumors that he's working with or his team is working with the Warriors front office to set up a sign-in trade. And it seems like it's coming down with the Magic taking KCP to either the Lakers and the Mavericks. And real quick on Dallas. So Derek Jones Jr., as we said, takes a $10 million a year for 3 years with the Clippers. They signed Najee Marshall from the Pelicans on a 3-year, $27 million deal, which I actually thought was like a sneaky good pickup for them.
Great value.
And so they still have room to offer Klay some money. I don't know. Where do you kind of think the Klay stuff lands?
So I think he ends up in Dallas. I know LeBron allegedly called him like right when free agency started, which is like a very funny counter to the concept of Draymond calling KD directly after a playoff loss. That said, I think there is some appeal for Klay to stay home with the Lakers. However, I think there's a better chance to win a title in Dallas.
Yeah.
And I really think he wants to get ring number 5. Like, while Golden State apparently had offered him more money.
Right.
So, like, outside of the 48 for 2 years deal, reporting out of the Bay Area has indicated that they were going to offer him something around 20. Now, 20 he's probably going to get between 15 to 17 a year with a sign and trade. Maxi Kleber works for Dallas. Ironically, with the Lakers, it would likely be D'Angelo Russell on a sign and trade, which the Warriors hated him in the first place, which is another reason why I think both these teams will probably work more closely to get him to Dallas rather than LA.
Interesting.
And you're getting him out of division, which is important for the Warriors.
Yeah, which is, I mean, yes, I guess, but like,
I know.
Is this the first time, or are we entering a new petty discourse in the NBA where I'm trying to think if this happened a lot in recent history where guys are like, fuck y'all, I'll go take less money somewhere else. Does that, I don't remember that being a common thing. We got Paul George had a spite move, although he didn't really take less money, just less years. We got Paul George doing it, Klay Thompson doing it. I feel like we're in our spite era.
Well, isn't it? So, it's funny. People were knocking the concept of how, NBA free agency went yesterday. Like, it was a very quiet day, obviously, for us hosting live shows for the start of NBA free agency. But on the flip side of the conversation is how much freaking money is available to guys right now on the high end. If you're a incoming superstar, meaning like you're getting your fund max, for example, like Emmanuel Quickly getting over $200 million. CJ, you better be thanking CJ McCollum. You better be thanking Grant Williams. Like, those guys took a lot of crap for this CBA when it came out. And there are elements of this CBA that I think for aging veterans like a Klay Thompson aren't necessarily great. But what I do think it means is guys are making so much money that they're willing to take less as vets because you're still going to make, in Clay's case, $17 million a year living in Texas. And that's not that different from making 22 in California.
Right.
So, like, yes, while he's taking less money, overall, it's going to be pretty similar-ish. And you get the chance to win. And when you've made, well over $300 million like Clay has, maybe that quality of life means a little more to you.
Yeah, it's a good point. Couple Shams updates. I don't know why I can't just say it right the first. So they had two guys tested free agency from the OKC Thunder are coming back. Isaiah Joe agreed to a 4-year, $48 million deal with OKC, which I think is a nice pickup for them because he was really one of the best 3-point shooters in the league the last 2 years. So that's a good grab for them. And then they also got Aaron Wiggins is back on a new 5-year, $47 million deal, which I thought was kind of interesting here. I wonder, and I don't know the math well enough, but there was all this buzz that Sam Presti was up in Eugene, Oregon, having a beer with Isaiah Hartenstein at the Nike facilities or whatever. But dude, I don't know if those signings make it a little bit trickier now to bring iHeart to OKC. And I feel like he and DeRozan are probably the two most intriguing, and Clay, the three most intriguing free agents that need to land. But anyways, good moves for OKC, I think. But I don't really know what that means for Hartenstein.
Well, I mean, OKC are as you kind of talked about when we talked briefly about those Clippers deals, OKC is one of the clear winners of this offseason, right? Mm. Like, they go from young emerging team that was the 1 seed, 3-way, but ended up getting the 1 seed last year. And now they've taken a pretty firm grip of the 1. And I think it's Oklahoma City and everyone else in the West.
Yeah.
And now they're in a place where they're going to win 57 to 60 games next year.
Mm-hmm.
And we're really going to see SGA's MVP campaign start.
Yeah, they're going to win so many games.
They're going to be incredibly good. They're going to be elite offensively. Chet's going to take another leap, I would assume. J-Dub's fantastic. They have more than enough shooting on the wings. We know they can defend at a high level.
They also those Clippers picks that we were talking about. Those are massive. Yes, you can just hold on to them because these drafts are supposed to be loaded, but they also have ammo to go make a move.
They want to make a Lauri trade, they can do it.
Yeah, well, on that, thank you for doing that. That was the next thing we're going to talk about. Also, shout out to people over on YouTube. If you guys are over on if you want to come over to Playback, link is pinned in the chat. And if you're new to Playback over here, if this is your first time and you're a visitor of the room, do me a favor, just join the room. Join the room so you can get involved in the chat. Makes us look good. So a lot of reports coming out. Oh, wait, actually, before we do Lauri, one more thing, because I know there was some convo in the YouTube chat. Is there any world, because I know it seems like it's going to be Dallas or the Lakers for Clay. Is there do the Sixers, because I know they have a couple of those Clippers picks way out.
Yep.
Can they move some contracts together to go do a sign and trade with Clay? Is there a shot that Clay can come to the Sixers, or is that probably out the window now?
That's probably out the window.
Yeah.
The cap mechanics get real difficult.
Mm.
And the sign and trade mechanics get real weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Philly seems like it's that would not happen at this stage.
Yeah.
Just based on the amount of money and where Philly is cap wise. If they hadn't given Eric Gordon and Drummond that money, maybe you could make that work.
Yeah.
But as of now, no. Philly seems unlikely.
Yeah. Okay, let's do Lauri real quick. So the Lauri marketing stuff is spicing up a little bit because Utah drafted another white guy, so they're going to trade a white guy because he's not American. Lauri, it sounds like Lauri marketing is on the move. Danny Ainge is ready to flex his Mormon muscles and move him around. And so there's been no real smoke of who's going after him. I'm sure because we're in the world that we're in, the Warriors are like, oh, we're actually interested in Lauri Markkanen. I don't really know if that is a real landing spot. I'm sure the Lakers are going to say they're interested in it. But to me, the two teams that stick out the most that could really flex a muscle that we just talked about is the OKC Thunder because they have real assets that they can move. And I thought San Antonio would be kind of interesting too because they still have a lot of shit that they can move around. They got a ton of picks. I mean, even that trade they made with Minnesota. They've got more first in that. Like, and I was thinking about it because, right, so they added Chris Paul for 1 year, $11 million, which I thought was like a fun signing. I know people are like, well, I guess he's done ring chasing, which I get, but I think CP3 going to thank God, San Antonio has a point guard that can pass the ball to Wemby. And now you have this like core of CP3 Wemby. They're Stephen Castle from UConn that they drafted, and Jeremy Sohan. I kind of like the idea of Lauri Markkanen. Like, I feel like they would have become a playing team if Lauri Markkanen is added to that group.
Well, so we'll take the Spurs part of this first, and we'll get OKC. And by the way, Mike, we've been doing this for 2 years. You knew I was going directly to the Lauri Markkanen. Then we were going right there. Come on now.
Here we go.
Yeah, look, on the Spurs, they're like, I think CP adds a level of professionalism to, like, CP and Pop is going to be awesome. They have a long-standing relationship that goes back basically 20 years, because they've been working together through Team USA.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's going to be fantastic. And just giving Wemby, who very clearly, like, has shown himself to be a sponge in terms of picking up the NBA game. He was already fantastic. Easily the best rookie we've seen, in a decade at least?
Yeah.
Bare minimum.
Yeah.
If not really the last 2 decades, honestly.
Yeah. I would say since LeBron. That was insane what we saw.
And, you add CP with him in terms of just like, one of the things when you hear people talk about Chris is, while Chris can be a bit of an asshole in terms of like the way that people feel about him, the one thing they will tell you is he's a hell of a competitor, and he teaches the young guys consistently really, really well.
I mean, dude, it was Dennis Schroeder's best season.
He was huge,
right,
with Golden State this year.
Yeah. And well, even that Thunder year, and I know he's older. Like, I don't think, and I know Stan's saying he's going to play under 50 games. Listen, nobody's expecting CP3 to go out there and average 24 and 12, playing 38 minutes a game. That's not what they're looking for. And they like this. I just think it's a good move, but I'm more intrigued by Lauri potentially landing there. I mean, they'd be legit grabbing an all-star. So you're going to have 2 all-stars on your team in Wemby and Lauri, and that's like the kind of big. Like, where if you want to play Wemby at the 5 and you have Lauri at the 4, I mean, that's insane spacing. You can go 5 out. Right. That's insane. It's like literally what a version of what the Celtics did with arguably, well, I wouldn't say better shooting, but like Devin Vassell is the lights out 3-point shooter, and it's only going to get better now with this space if they make a move like this. But he's going to have wide open shots. Castle's going to have wide open shots. Like, I don't know.
Keldon Johnson.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I imagine Keldon is probably involved in a trade if they go later, sure. But any other, I mean, we've talked about the Spurs, OKC, obviously that would be an insane fit if they were able to grab them. Any other potential like Lauri?
Golden State, technically. If they want to do Kuminga, Wiggins picks. Quickly, just on the Golden State front, I'll note this, and I'll get back to Lauri in just 1 second.
Yeah.
How wild is it that Chris Paul ended up getting released yesterday? Like, they didn't do the deal for Zach LaVine, which allegedly was Wiggins and CP3 and a pick for LaVine, and Golden State turned it down.
Yeah, the Zach LaVine stuff's crazy, man. They just do not want. Nobody wants Zach, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's crazy that because I mean, at least you're getting something back, right? You're trying to move.
In CP3 and Wiggins, for those that haven't been following the Wiggins saga, over the last 2 years, he's missed 25 plus games both the last 2 years between injury and leaving the team. And then the Team Canada stuff that came out this weekend was
weird,
dirty work, guys. According to Team Canada, Golden State pulled him for injury concerns, and Wiggins was incredibly disappointed that he couldn't play on the Olympic team because his mom played on the Canadian Olympic team. So it sounds like things are getting worse between Andrew Wiggins and the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, I imagine he's not playing another game for them.
I mean, I would assume they're going to try to find a deal for him here in the offseason. Stan, I see you in the chat. The idea, literally, Team Canada said that it was not mutual agreement.
Do you yeah, there we go. I was going to talk about that in a second. Jalen Center, 1 year, a 3-year, $27 million contract. I thought that was a fun little pickup there I like Jalen Smith. And I mean, listen, the Bulls are going to suck this year. So, and I feel like he'll have some fun next to Josh Giddey running around.
Patrick Williams and Jalen Smith for a combined, what, 130 million, give or take?
Yeah, 130. No, 117.
Something like that.
117 million. Yeah. Well, that, real quick on that. That's why I think a lot of people were sour on the Pat Williams resign, which I wasn't. I kind of liked it, but you looked at the money that he got and then you compare it to what Najee Marshall got, Derrick Jones Jr. got, and Jalen Smith. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. Bulls are in a weird spot. I think Bulls are in a weird spot. So do you think the Warriors, as Matty Harrison said, 3 years, 138 left for LaVine is crazy. That is a lot of money. Do you think, but with the Warriors saying no to that, do you think they have another deal with Wiggins? Because I'm a little bit surprised that they did say no. I know it's a lot of money, but I don't know. I'm a little bit surprised.
I don't know, man. Living in the Bay, I know that team pretty well. I think there's a real, yesterday was a real dark day for Warrior fans because they can see the end of the tunnel. And they know that the dynasty's officially over. And, I think they're going to try to move Wiggins here sometime in the offseason. The problem is that deal's not great. I think he's got another 2 years left at $25 million per.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's left the team twice for mental health reasons, basically.
Yeah.
And we don't really know what those mental health reasons were. Just the Warriors were very protective of the process. They had said, in year one, it was something related to his dad. In year two, they didn't really say. He just left. So I struggle with that team because if you're banking on Brandon Podziemski and Jonathan Kuminga, year 2 and year 3 leaps.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, you got to pay JK. Like people talked about, they quote unquote overpaid for Jordan Poole. Well, you're gonna have to pay the same amount of money, if not more, to Jonathan Kuminga, a guy who Steve Kerr said in his exit interview, we can't play Jonathan at the 4 because Draymond's there and he's not good enough to play the 3.
Yeah.
Well, he's gonna have to play the 3.
Yeah, they're in trouble. The Warriors are in trouble. I'm interested. I mean, I'm excited to watch them be bad this year and everybody lose their mind. So that will be fun. RIP Steph Curry. Hopefully he averages like 40 points a game, and that'll at least be fun to watch. But yeah, there was a couple other things we wanted to hit here. So just a what the fuck signing. 3 years, $30 million for Jonas Valanciunas. To the Wizards. I mean, is this just a trade asset? Is that what they're doing? We're like, we'll sign this is their Tyus Jones move, kind of. We'll get this guy and then move off him in 3 months.
Are we assuming that Washington knows what the fuck they're doing?
I don't know. I mean, shout out Justin Catchins, Jay Catch. I don't know if he's watching this morning, but he sent a funny tweet. Detroit Pistons finest, just saying Troy Weaver got to the Wizards, drafted Sarr, and handed out $55 million to Rashawn Holmes and Jonas Valanciunas. Love to see people stay true to themselves. Just
they draft. We talked about this last week, but they went the other way in the draft. They made 3 first round picks, and then they draft Valanciunas to move Sarr to the 4. I guess.
Yeah, just incredible.
I thought Sarr was going to be their 5.
Incredible.
You're gonna have 2 7-footers out there. Okay. Yeah. Neither of whom can shoot particularly well. Because if there's one thing about Alexander Sarr that people know is in his small sample size in France, he wasn't a great shooter. So your spacing is gonna be all weird. With Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma likely to be traded. I actually think if there's any place Kuzma does get traded, it's probably going to stay around.
Yeah.
Or maybe San Antonio. I could actually see San Antonio being a fun spot for Kuz.
Also Bagley.
Yeah, it's very Bagley. Weird, man.
Bagley too. I take about Washington.
Yeah, what?
So let's maybe some bigger picture things, because there was something I was thinking about with Shut Up Raj over on the YouTube chat was saying that Russell Westbrook said he had interest in Denver. I always love comments like that where it's like, I have interest in a lot of stuff that I have interest in playing sports professionally. And I don't know if that's mutual interest. Like, I don't know if Denver is interested in Russell Westbrook. But I was thinking about some of like the, supposed good teams who are watching people get better around them. And so Denver's one of them, obviously. Miami made one move, right? They brought Kevin Love, but this is the second straight offseason where they kind of haven't done anything, and maybe they're just like, well, we'll finally be healthy. I know they re-signed Bam as well to an extension. And the Celtics, I know, like the Celtics defending champs, they're going to be without Porzingis probably till January, which I know is kind of like good because we don't want him being used a bunch. But they lost Brissett. They re-signed Cornette. But you don't want to be playing Al that much. Like, is there a move? Like, for those three teams specifically, it kind of feels like everybody got better around them and they didn't improve. Do you see? Is there?
Well, I think it's funny. We'll take Miami first. Miami, to me, I don't want to say rebuilding. It feels like a year where they're going to take a little bit of a step back. Like, there's a big difference between them and the rest of the top four, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And even Milwaukee, we haven't touched on either. I feel like those two are the big losers in the East, where you're like, Milwaukee, what did you do with your draft pick? You took a project when you need to win now.
And Miami, it sounds like they're losing Brook Lopez too.
Yeah, and they might be looking to deal Brook. And then Miami basically stayed flat and they didn't entirely improve. Now look, I think Nikola Jovic is going to be really good for them, and I think Kelly Ware should be provide better spacing for them.
Year two, Hawkes.
And Bam's starting to shoot threes now.
Yeah.
So like between Ware and Bam, I think that's actually going to be pretty fun. But it does feel like the teams around them got a little bit better.
Yeah.
As far as the Celtics go, I think they were content re-signing Cornette and Nehemias Queta to provide big depth. They may sign a wing just to provide like a 6'8", 6'9" wing to provide a little bit more depth there. They'll get some kind of vet min guy who's looking to win a ring.
Yeah.
That feels pretty likely. Who that is unclear right now. But I do think, like, from a Celtics perspective, they're super young still. They're bringing back their top 8. The White extension hasn't officially been announced. But they didn't have to make any moves.
The Tatum extension hasn't been announced yet either, right?
Correct. I think the only thing on the Tatum extension, if I had to guess, and this is the same thing they ran into with the Jaylen Brown extension, is it took them a little while with the Jaylen Brown extension last year. Because they had to figure out. They went the full 5 years, and and they gave him the full 5-year max. But I think there were some terms on the backside, that were a little tough, and I think they can do the same thing with JT, where they're going to give him like 90% of what it's going to be, but that probably won't get announced till maybe July 4th.
Okay,
I don't think it gets announced like today or tomorrow. I think it might take a couple days just to hammer out like some hard line details that like 90% of people won't care about.
Boston says Tatum will take a discount like Brady. I don't think that is
not happening.
I don't. This is LeBron is going to be like the first person to take a discount in like 20 years in the NBA. I don't remember anybody else ever doing that. All right, because then I want to talk about Denver, about their potential moves. Let me throw because I was bringing this up yesterday during the stream when nothing happened. Although just Dustin came on, so that was fun. What about just like giving a little minimum to James Wiseman to come to Boston?
I take it.
Right? Just like throw it out there. If he sucks, don't play him. Right? Just give Al some rest, right? They're playing the Wizards on a back-to-back. Let Wiseman go for 25 and 12.
Yeah, let Wiseman cook in a Celtics uniform. It would add even more spice to that Celtics Warriors rivalry.
Yeah, James Wiseman is turning into my new Dion Waiters, I think.
it would. Hey, look, the guy can speak Mandarin.
Yeah. He dropped mixtapes.
Yeah,
let's go.
International superstar James Wiseman. All right.
Yeah.
Now look, I think when we look at the broader landscape of free agency, kind of where we are. To me, I really think that like Denver having this kind of offseason, I really wonder if they're even going to be top 3 in the West.
Yeah, I mean,
I know that seems like a bit of a hot take.
No, I don't have. I think I have them fourth in the West right now.
I'm really worried about them
mm-hmm.
because they've been great in terms of their overall health. And
yes and no. I mean, Jamal Murray still misses a ton of time every year.
Right, but I'm saying like they just locked up Jamal to 5 years, $212 million. So
mm-hmm.
they still feel great about him.
Yeah, oh, for sure. I mean, like it's not like they've run pure health wise. I just don't. I think you're like you laid it out. Everybody else around them got better, and you're like Memphis again. This is going to be my top four in the West. I think heading in, and I'm going to take OKC first, Minnesota either second or third, Memphis either second or third, and then Denver in fourth. I think that's kind of where I'm landing with my top four. But and then Dallas or Dallas will be
Denver.
Say that again.
Houston might be better than Denver.
Oh, I don't know if I'm that far. Houston. What?
Throwing it out there. Throwing it out there.
I don't know.
Here's my Houston take. This is me getting a little spicy here at 6:45 on the West Coast on minimal sleep. This might be a sleep deprived take, but I'm gonna put it out there anyway. I think you look at their overall development, and the second year of Ime was big with the Celtics.
Sure.
Once you put those guys into Ime's system, they have wings all over the place. Yeah. Everyone can score. They're going to defend at a high level, as they did last year. They're middle attack last year defensively.
Celtics had 2 All-Stars on that team, though. Does Houston have any All-Stars?
Sengun, maybe.
Sengun. That's true. The return of Sengun. Although maybe Sengun's salty. Maybe he's got some Turkish salt after they were saying.
Well, yeah. I mean, there have been rumors that they might be looking to deal him.
Which
but Rafael Stone had an awesome offseason.
Yeah.
Like they're in a fantastic place. I think they handled the draft really well.
Yeah.
Like I just look at that team, and look, they can make a move for Laurie if they wanted to.
That's true. Jalen Green and some picks.
You put Jalen Green in some of the picks they had, like the Phoenix picks that they have.
Mm-hmm. And they didn't give Jalen Green his because he was in the same draft class as like Maxey and all of them.
He wants the extension, and it looks like he's not getting it.
Yeah, or at least not this season, anyways. Wow, yeah, all right. Houston's a hot take. I would have if you told me top 8. I'm all in. You saying top, or you're just saying Denver's fallen to like 7th or 8th?
No, I'm saying Denver would fall to like 6 maybe.
And so you got Houston.
The thought process is maybe Michael Porter Jr. takes a step back because he's going to have to shoot on higher volume.
All right.
Maybe he gets hurt. Jokic is going to have to play monster minutes because their backup 5 is a mess. They still re-signed DeAndre Jordan. They are really banking on the development of the young guys, Christian Braun, Julian Strawther, Peyton Watson. Like, do we really think that those guys are going to develop into good, reasonable role players?
Yeah, I'm on the Strawther train.
Like even to be a 5 seed. So we think that they're going to win 50 to 53 games with that roster. I don't know, man. Damn, Zakarian. Just hit me with, am I on drugs with this rocket stick? Maybe.
I was just trying to get a poll. I was trying to get the chat involved in a poll.
Fair. I'm throwing some takes out there.
I like it.
This is the silly season of free agency in the draft. We haven't fully formed rosters yet, so I do think like if they have a rough season, I don't think Mike Malone's on the hot seat. I think Calvin Booth is.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think. Or you know what? Or if we learn that the very, very rich Cronkies, Stan Kroenke, right? Cronkies, maybe they are. We learn how cheap they really are, and because that to me is, I still can't believe that KCP's gone.
Well, remember they traded. This is gonna sound kind of weird, but Reggie Jackson wasn't great for them last year.
Yeah.
But Michael Malone loved himself some Reggie Jackson. How much did he love Reggie Jackson? Played him every game last year.
Yeah, that's so dumb. What do you think? Do you think there's real smoke to Russ going to Denver, or that's just Russ tweeting stuff out?
I think that's real.
Be such a funny fit.
So they need a backup point guard
for sure.
And he would be terrible for the spacing.
Yeah.
However,
that's what I'm saying.
he is pretty tight with DeAndre.
True.
And, it keeps him West Coast adjacent,
Bring back Campazzo, baby. Bring back
I don't think Campazzo's coming back. All right. I actually, wow, I agree with Stan Loves on this. They should, trade for Bruce Brown would be great. I don't, they don't really have the roster to make that work though.
Yeah.
So, they could use someone like that for sure. But the reality is they need more secondary ball handling. Part of the reason why they lost to Minnesota, and this is another concern I have for them, is do we think that they have enough ball handling that they can survive an 82-game season?
Yeah. Not right now. Not right now.
If Jamal gets hurt, Christian Braun is your primary ball handler.
Yeah, I love Christian Braun. I'm a big fan of his, but I'm a big fan of his when he's like your 6th or 7th man. I don't really love the role that he's going to be forced into. And they're missing some shooting now. Like that's a pretty big. Now you're relying on Jamal Murray. I mean, Denver already was one of the lowest volume 3-point shooting teams in the league, and now they got rid of the guy that took the most for him. I'll say so. It's Jamal and Jokic and Michael. Well, maybe not the most. Maybe Porter Jr. took more, but. I don't know. We'll have to. I'll be curious to see what Denver does in the or all of these contenders that we were just mentioning. I want to let's do one more thing, and then we'll get close to wrapping up here. And again, shout out to everybody that was watching over on YouTube and playback, or all you podcast listeners as well. But if you haven't come over to our playback room, playback.tv/Team Hold, come join the room. I think we're up over 820 now. 820, baby. So appreciate you guys hanging out. But Weisberg, let's wrap up with some DeRozan. Where do you think he's going to go? I feel like people keep forgetting that he's a free agent this year. Where do you think he lands? It sounds like he's going to be definitely gone from Chicago. It sounds like Levine and Vooch might both be gone too. But yeah, where do you think he goes?
I think the Clippers. They're going to need some kind of secondary ball handling. They're going to need some scoring to replace Paul George. He's not a perfect fit because defensively he's just not very good at his age.
Mm-hmm.
But he's from Compton, and they're opening up a new stadium in Inglewood. Feels like a win-win,
right?
Like I'm a little shocked that Russ didn't stay, given that both of them were at the pop out for Kendrick, which to me was like an indication of like. Oh, maybe we get DeMar and Russ in the Clippers uniform when they open up the toilet bowl, aka the Intuit Dome. But yeah, I think DeMar to the Clippers makes all the sense in the world. They just got to figure out the money.
And I think the Clippers can get away with not giving him like a 4-year deal or a 3-year deal. You know what I mean? Like you could just give him like 2 years, 60 or something like that. Man, the other thing, Boston Base, we were talking about that one earlier, is nuts. The other thing that I wanted to put out there, somebody just said, can Denver somehow swing that? I don't think so, right? Denver doesn't have the flexibility to do that. Unless
you're signing and trading the kids, which they're not going to do.
Yeah, Clippers.
Calvin Booth loves those kids.
He does. Clippers I think, makes the most sense. I could see a world where the Lakers do it, but I think that would mean him taking a little bit of a discount, and then LeBron definitely taking that discount. Also, I know LeBron is going back to the Lakers, but LeBron is a free agent right now. Just throwing that out there.
On the LeBron stuff, it's pretty funny. Do we think he's actually going to take the $20 million discount? I know he's talked about it.
I think if they're like, hey, we can turn this into Clay and DeMar, or you know what I mean, like 2 real players. I think he would do it. Because listen, if they added Clay, I don't know if they can add Clay and DeMar, but if they could, all of a sudden that is, that's closer to the top 4 than 6 through 8. Yeah, like I think that's a real competitive team.
You can see their top 8 kind of filling out, adding Dalton Connect. Like they would have a bunch of shooting. Their spacing would actually be pretty decent. DeMar can handle things in the mid range, coming off that pick and roll with AD and LeBron. Like that would be pretty fun.
Yeah. And listen, I know we don't like to give this man respect or believe in him whatsoever, but similarly to Jason Tatum, if you removed like Jokic, Luka, and Embiid, Giannis, like that core group of guys who are going to be in the MVP conversation every year. Anthony Davis was awesome last year.
Yeah, and
Anthony
played the most games he's ever played.
Yeah, and so like yes, you could say, well, there's no way he repeats that, and that's fair, right? But he was awesome, and so like if you have AD playing top 10 style basketball, and then you're really able to surround them with those types of players, I could definitely see LeBron doing it. I don't think they're going to be able to get both of those guys though, and if it's not those guys, I don't know who else they're getting. Like those to me are like the two. Right. Is there any other free agents that I'm missing that haven't gone anywhere that?
Let me pull up Spotrac's list of available free agents real quick. I just want to see if there's anyone that we are actually missing in terms of available free agents.
I mean, there's definitely some still out there, but I just like impactful guys that I could see the Lakers getting excited about. And the Lakers do have D'Lo, who's going to be in every trade talk again for another year.
So who do you think is the most impactful guys that are available right now? Just based on like previous AAV.
Yeah.
Tobias Harris is going to take a probably $7 to $8 million deal somewhere. Annually.
I keep forgetting about Tobias.
Gordon Hayward's going to sign somewhere else. Lowry probably resigns in Philly. Buddy Hield. I can see Buddy in Los Angeles.
Finally, 10 years later.
Yeah, do the thing. Gary Trent Jr. is pretty underrated.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
I would love to see like I'm trying to think about where he would fit cap space wise.
The Sixers could still make a move at him, right?
Yeah, I think they have just enough to maybe make something work there.
Denver, but I don't think they'll have enough money.
Malik Beasley.
Yeah.
Tyus Jones. It starts getting late early here, guys.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Gary Harris, Covington.
So that I think it does put a little bit of pressure, which is like good news for DeMar and Clay on the Lakers to force this. Otherwise, they're going to be paying 42-year-old LeBron $50 million a year. So yeah, crazy stuff. Well, I think we'll wrap there, Mike. Thanks for getting up early. Appreciate you hanging out. Shout out to everybody that tuned in on YouTube or watching the replay here over on Playback. We'll stay tuned. We'll have some fun stuff. I think I'm going to do a video on the Ball is Life channel sometime this week about the overall trade, the Paul George's journey from OKC to the Clippers down to Philly. So stay tuned for that. The NBA bit this week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. We'll have the happy hour show, I think, on Friday, although I'm going to a wedding this weekend, and I don't know if I'm leaving Friday afternoon or Saturday morning or what time. So stay tuned for that. And then, honestly, I'm around today. So if anything weird happens free agency-wise, we'll fire up a stream. Anything you need to shout out, Weisberg?
No, I mean, we've been cooking over here on the Team Hold Playback. As you mentioned, we officially jumped over 820 members, which is exciting.
It's fun.
Still working our way up to are we still doing that giveaway that we had during the year?
If we get up over 1K, yeah.
Any big fourth plans? No, not for me currently. Got some big work interviews over this week, but that is about it before we lean into Summer League next week, baby.
Ooh, wait, did that just happen, Common Man? Wow, Hartenstein to OKC, 3-year, $87 million. OKC.
iHeart getting paid.
Dude, that's great. But that's awesome for OKC, too, to keep that to a 3-year deal, I think. And so he's getting what? I can't do the math. That's like 28 a year. Is that right? Something like that? 50, it's close. Yep. Close. If that is right on the
hell of a 24 hours for Aaron Mintz. The agent over at CA, who not to pull a Woj here for a second, but just to kind of, I know, right? But between Paul George and Isaiah Hartenstein, that man made his clients some money.
Yeah, made himself some money too.
Damn right. But yeah, iHeart getting 3 years, $87 million. Do you think that's a little under market?
No, I mean, think about Nick Claxton, 25 over the 4 years, right? So $100 million total.
I think iHeart's better than Nick Claxton.
No, I do too, but I think that is like a similar market. Like I do.
Sure.
And I think, to get a little bit more than 25, but for less years. And Hartenstein,
it's 3 years, not 4. Okay.
Yeah. and Hartenstein, who hasn't gotten paid yet. I mean, this probably feels awesome. And not only to get paid, but now he goes to listen, I'll say it, a title favorite. They have addressed
real quick on Hartenstein, Mike. To your point. So Isaiah Hartenstein last offseason was going to take a discount to stay with the Clippers.
Yeah.
And they chose to, on a vet minimum deal. And they chose to sign the corpse of John Wall instead.
Yeah.
And then he goes to New York, has a fantastic year, and now is making $100 million basically over the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Hell of a story.
It's great. And Stan was saying would rather play Joe Val 10 than 29 mil for Hartenstein. I get what you're saying, but the Thunder had money to spend, and he fixes what their issues were, right? That is a rim protector. That is a guy that also showed a little bit more offensively, like a better passer than I think people gave him credit for. They bring back Isaiah Joe, so they bring back that 3-point shooting. They also looking towards year 2 and year 3 of this Hartenstein deal, they've got Nikola Topic, right, who is just going to be sitting there like redshirting his rookie year, which would have been a top 5 pick that they end up getting later in the first round draft. This is, man, OKC, fresh off of
is basically Giddey part 2, Giddey without the legal issues.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would just note, Mike, to your point on OKC is like what iHeart does for them is he's going to provide spacing. You don't have to play Chet at the 5 now.
Right.
So you're going to have 2 7-footers, and then you have SGA, J-Dub, and then whatever shooting you want to put alongside them, whether it's someone like Isaiah Joe, who's their other shooter off the top of my head? I'm blanking.
Chet, J-Dub, Isaiah Joe. That's really it. I don't think they have other 3-point flamethrowers.
They've one other. Hold on, this is killing me.
Dort.
Yeah, and Caruso.
Oh yeah, Caruso. Man, I forgot they fucking got Caruso.
I know. That just happened like a week ago.
Dude, this is a deep team now, man, and they've got their
and defensively they can cook.
Yeah, and they've gotten through a playoff series, right? They've gotten their playoff bones about them. Tesla says Dort has to go now, right? That's the thing. Like, I feel like they still could keep this and run it back with them. Or again, they have Dort and these picks of the Clippers. Like, they could keep fucking splashing if they wanted to.
If they wanted to get, well, here's the thing: they're going to get expensive very quickly. And they have an ownership group that's kind of notoriously cheap.
Yeah, but they still have like a couple years before it gets nuts, right? Because like the Chet extension's coming, the J-Dub extension's coming, and the SGA Max is coming, but they still have a little bit of time.
They have a couple year window there, but if you sign Lauri if you make a deal for Lauri, then you're maxing out Lauri.
Right.
And that gets, all of a sudden, that roster gets Celtics level expensive.
Right.
Like the Celtics are going to get very expensive very quickly.
Right.
They have basically a 2-year window here to kind of maximize what they do before the repeater tax and the second apron really start to kind of murder their flexibility.
Yeah. I'm going to stop you real quick. You cannot make this Hartenstein move and potential Lauri trade about the Celtics.
Shameless things are shameless.
Yeah. Also, Patrick, yeah, I do think that goes down. I think they're going to be. I think it's going to be the Celtics. It'll probably go Celtics, Thunder, Sixers, unless people don't want to bet on the Thunder because it's not like a sexy name. But I would think they are the clear favorites to come out of the West. I think.
Are we betting on the Thunder when we get to Vegas? Is that
for
the
second consecutive year? No, I'm going to bet on Grizzlies overs. That's what I'm going to be doing if they're up there. But yeah, I'll do it.
Well, we'll grab TST and Jeb. We'll have a little team hold meeting. We can figure it out. Is TST coming to Summer League?
No, I don't think we have TST this year, but I do think we have JBB for like 18 hours. I think he's got a work trip that is somewhere, and he's stopping for like a night, I think. So which is
for those that have not seen the JVB experience in Vegas is
excellent,
incredible.
It's excellent,
well worth it.
Speaking of, yeah, he did come in hot. We saw him. I saw at like 7 a.m. with a Bud Light. For those coming to Vegas, by the way, July 11th. It's right around the corner. We're in July right now. Happy July, rabbit, or whatever the fuck you say on the first. We're gonna be out there July 11th to. I'm now going to be out there till the 15th, but that Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we're going to do a team hold meetup, I think, on Saturday afternoon over at Beer Park again. So we're going to fire that up. We're going to go to the No Dunks live show on Friday. We're going to do a lot of basketball in Summer League and a lot of debauchery stuff. So Common Man, are we getting you out there? I know you were on the fence. We got in Boston based is eyeing flights. Let's go.
Ooh.
Bring the crew back together. JJL Smith DMing me this morning. He already bought Grateful Dead tickets. He's ready to go. Patrick is going to be out there. I'm excited. Summer League's going to be a good time.
I'm just excited to see Boston Bays get into a fight with security at a club. That'd be great. To see him just get reckless for a couple nights.
Common Man's still questionable with an injury. Hey, dude, take some HGH, get some performance enhancers. Let's get you out there. Let's do it. Let's wrap this up. Weisberg, thanks so much. Congrats to the Thunder. Congrats to the Sixers. And you know what? No congrats to Stan Love. Sorry, Stan. Just got to get a random stray in there. For everybody watching on YouTube, thanks for hanging out. Come on over to Playback for everybody on Playback. Hell yeah. And then don't forget